Hey guys, this is Voiseau. Thank you for joining me for yet another video on Viking Voice where I talk about performing anxiety and how to address it. And today's video, I just wanted to, well, it's not going off topic, but it's related to fear. I want to talk about something that happened to me yesterday. And it's funny because it's a situation I guess many of us have been presented with in our everyday lives, and most of us try to ignore it. And this is the first time I've actually been confronted with this situation and done something that in the past I would never have done before. And it has a lot to do with fear, and it has a lot to do with what our minds tell us and how we try to, I suppose, negotiate our fear and rationalize it, and we listen to what our mind tells us is true and the reasons why, or why we shouldn't do something, or why we shouldn't be afraid. And I was really, because I've been working on it, addressing anxiety so much lately, I have to say I found it fascinating how addressing anxiety and fear in one area of your life, so for me, really confronting my fear of singing in public, has affected other areas of my life. And you may have found that as well. Once you start confronting your fears and you realize it's not as bad as all the stories your mind has been making up, for me, years and years of stories my mind has been making up as to why I should be afraid or why I shouldn't sing. Once you start listening and being able to separate yourself from that voice, it's amazing how much more open and aware you are to life, and realizing that those stories just aren't true. Once I actually started singing in public, like a month ago, actually just doing it, I realized how much, or how, like, it just wasn't a big deal at all. And so I want to tell you what happened to me yesterday. I actually just come back from the cold, so my nose is red cheeks. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, off topic. So yesterday I was on the way to the shops, and I was walking with my mum, and to the nearest supermarket, it's about 20 minutes. And we, to get there, have to cross a main road. And to cross the main road, there's an underpass. And as we reached the underpass, I saw this man lying on the ground, in the subway, in the underpass there, and he wasn't moving. He was clearly homeless, but he didn't have anything but the clothes on his back. He was just on the ground, facing the wall, curled up, and not moving. And I walked past him, and I'd said to my mom, like, do you think he's all right? And obviously my mom, like, I don't know. And something happened when I got to the shops like 10 minutes later. I just knew that I was genuinely concerned this guy wasn't well, if he was even alive at all. But I would say still about half an hour to 40 minutes passed till I run my errands and I walked back that way. And as I was approaching the underpass again, there was part of my brain that was hoping that he was gone, or that someone else had taken care of him, or that he'd moved on. And I was listening to my mind as it was getting noisier and noisier, and the reasons why I should have just kept walking, especially now during these times where it's COVID, and I mean, it's December, and the cases are really bad at the moment, and this voice in my head was just like, Voiseau, he's homeless, you're going to catch COVID if you get near to him, you're alone. I left my mum before we went to the supermarket, so she carried on, so I was on my own at that point. Don't stop. You never know, he could grab you. I mean, the smell was quite bad. And I just stopped, and I said to myself, who is the voice that is speaking these thoughts? Is it actually me, or is it actually my ego mind trying to protect myself? The same voice that had been telling me for years I shouldn't sing to protect me. And I thought, this is something that I can't walk away from. And in good conscience and in good soul, I don't know, something was different. And strangely, I was able to reach a point where I recognized the thoughts as fear-based thoughts, but I was able to separate myself from it because I know I'm not the thoughts. So I turned the corner into the subway and he was still there and he wasn't moving. And I came up to him and I said, I asked if he was all right. No, nothing, no movement. I spoke a bit louder. Then I saw him stir, so that was good. He was awake. And I then do something I've never done. I put my hand on him and I sort of held his arm and I tried to sort of shake him a little bit awake. And he turned towards me, but his face was hidden by his scarf. So I couldn't see his face, but I could tell he acknowledged me. And a lady had stopped just ahead of me and she's like, I live in the area, I can come back and like with a cup of tea. And I said, well, I'm worried because when I touched him, I could clearly tell he was shivering. And Lord knows how long it had been there. He had been there. It was like December. It's freezing cold. And I just said to her, like, I'm not sure what to do because he's clearly awake, but no one wants to be on the floor with nothing to protect them. You know, it had nothing but the clothes on his back. And I just decided then and there to call the ambulance. While I was speaking on the phone, he managed to stir up a little bit more. And while we were waiting for the ambulance, I stayed with him and he pulled down his mask, his scarf, and I saw he had a head wound, and I saw he had it really rough. And I just gave him what little food I could, but he was weak. He was barely able to sit up, barely able to talk. And bless him, he was trying to be polite when I asked him if I just had a bread roll and some ham. I mean, it was dry bread. That's literally all I had. I didn't even have water or anything to give him. And he was trying to be polite as well. I said, do you want some ham with that? He said, yes, please. And, you know, and it just kind of broke my heart because I wondered how long that man had been there. And I tried to ask him that and he couldn't really tell me. And I just had this thought, how many people walked past him that day and didn't stop? And until you've been in a situation where you need help and it just takes one person to stop and help you, I don't think you can really understand what that's like. But then it asks the question, why don't most people stop and keep walking? It's because of the stories they tell themselves to excuse the fact that they don't stop. And it's the fear-based stories to protect themselves. And that's how we survive, of course. But what's amazing is once you're able to stop the thoughts, you can see what life presents you with, and you're more open to your heart and what your soul tells you because you haven't got the noise of your mind. And like me, walking up to that man, I had the noise of the mind, but I was able to calm it down enough that I was just able to do what needed to be done. And as soon as I spoke to him, all the fear was gone. I didn't even think. Anyway, just really, really fascinating, because I would never have done that in the past. I would not have known how to. I would have probably been concerned, but I would have walked past and I would have said to myself, he'll be fine. Someone else will take care of it, and there's nothing you can do about it because, you know, you're a girl, and besides, you might catch something, he's dirty, he'll, you know, I would have justified my reasons for walking away and walking past and doing nothing. And I think most of us justify our fears that way. And let's be clear, just because I was able to help that man didn't mean I wasn't afraid before helping him. I was scared. Of course I was. But being able to stop that voice, the ego mind, from all the monkey chatter that goes on, and really just underneath it all, it's love, it's compassion, there's something very deep about it. And I don't know, it just got me thinking, like, how come I did this? How was I able to do this? And I think it's because I've been addressing my fear in other areas of my life, and recognizing that voice that has stopped me my entire life. And knowing now, at least being conscious and aware enough to recognize that those voices in my head that try to protect me is not actually who I am. And it's amazing what life presents you with, and what opportunities are given to us if only we could stop the voice from stopping us. And what you have underneath is humanity and listening to your heart and your soul and what it tells you to do. And I don't know, something was working through me yesterday. And then, of course, people are like, oh, you did such a good deed. And no, it's actually, I just stopped and recognized the situation for what it was. I saw a man who genuinely needed help, and if he didn't get help soon, he probably would have been in big trouble, and that's the end of it. But I was only able to help him because I was able to separate myself, who I really am, from the fear stories in my head. So I just wanted to leave you with that story. And it doesn't matter who you think you are, or what kind of background you've had, or opportunities you have or haven't had. The reason you stop yourself is because of your fear and what your mind tells you. And the instant your mind starts to talk at you, just take a back seat, acknowledge your fear. And acknowledging your fear, you realize that that is not actually a part of you. You may think it is, but it's not. So think about that with your everyday life. And I would encourage you to start taking small steps to at least be aware of your fear-based mind. Be aware of the stories it tells you. And if you're ever presented with a situation, could be anything, in your everyday life, where your mind starts to get noisy because your soul pushes you in one direction, but your head pulls you in the other, saying, no, 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 no. I would encourage you to recognize the fear, recognize the mind for what it is. They're just thoughts, they're just words, and follow what your soul tells you to do. And I guarantee what lies on the other side. Really, it opens you up to life. It opens you up because it makes you more human. And I think that's kind of what we need in the world now, is more and more people going beyond their fear, going beyond themselves, growing spiritually. So this is a journey for all of us. Anyway, if you have any similar stories as that, or to do with fear, I would love to hear them. Please do share, and I guess I will see you in the next video. Really appreciate you listening. Take care, guys. Bye.